Hello and welcome to my week 3 reflection for the Peaceful Warrior immersion. Despite the fact that I was only able to come to school for 3 days this week because of MLK Day and that I got sick, I still feel like I had a very productive week. I'm going to start out by talking about meditation. So this week we continued to practice meditation with most of our sits being around 30 to 35 minutes long. I definitely feel like it got a lot easier for me to sit for these longer periods of time since last week I was barely able to do the 25-minute sit and the 35-minute sit was like impossible for me. Also, one thing that I did when I got sick was I set up some pillows in my basement and tried to meditate on my own, and rather than having a timer counting down for like a set amount of time, I just let a timer run for as long as I could possibly sit. So I meditated for 37 minutes. I feel like that was also possible because due to the fact that I was sick, I got more sleep since I didn't have to worry about getting up at 7 o'clock. Okay, so in addition to meditation, we also continued to watch The Matrix. And one thing that I did that I think made me better able to understand it was that I watched it once on my own so that I could understand the plot points since some of them get sort of confusing, and once with the rest of the group where I would be on the lookout for symbolism and connections to our immersion. So I think that really helped. That just made my experience watching the movie a lot better because I didn't have to worry about, oh, how does this plot point make sense at the same time as trying to understand the deeper meaning to the movie. Okay, so another thing that we did a lot this week was we continued to practice yoga. So we continued to work with some of the yoga positions that we've been learning over the last 2 weeks. And we also added in some new seated positions, which seemed like they should be pretty easy, but were actually just as hard as some of the ones I was struggling with before, like the balancing positions. We also, on Friday, were able to do some archery, which, I mean, it would have been nice to do it more, but I definitely feel like even with the once per week thing, I am getting a lot better since most of my shots are starting to more consistently move towards the middle of the target, since like on the first time we did archery, almost all my shots missed, and since then they've been working their way from the outside of the target towards the inside, so that's cool. Okay, so for the 2 days that I was able to come to the dojo, we focused mainly on the element of wind. The element of wind is mostly about serving others, and in a physical sense, being able to just give up your space and move somewhere else, sort of like the wind. I personally identify with wind the second most of the elements, like just after water, since I try to avoid conflicts whenever possible. One notable experience during our wind training was on the second day. We had to dodge attacks from a shock knife. For me, this was by far the scariest thing we've done during immersion. Even though, like, I knew that you can't actually get hurt even if you do get hit, there's just something about, like, seeing a knife that's, like, sparking and set to extreme mode that made my fight or flight response just go crazy, telling me to run away. And then, like, even though our training showed us that running towards the person's actually safer at a certain point, since like you can get to a point where they can't hit you, my brain was just telling me that doesn't make any sense. You should run away. So had to try to ignore my impulses on that one a little. So just in general, being sick made me notice just how esoteric our immersion is, since after I got back from being sick, I expected to be able to get a rough sense of what the group had done the day before, but instead I felt really, really disoriented during the discussions, since there were a bunch of things that the group did that I just couldn't understand because I wasn't there for. So that just really put stuff in perspective.